stop foreign nations from cheating us, cut taxes to reopen factories. Donald Trump knows business, and he'll fight for the American worker.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
So, I mean, that's resonating. That's why, I mean, real Americans, hardworking Americans, listen to that. Genevieve Wood, everybody.
The stars at night are big and bright, deep in the heart of...
So, wow, where do we begin, Genevieve? I just got through with a call. You might have heard some of the last remnants of that phone call with Dan. But, Genevieve, I'm getting... I mean, you guys are sitting here, right, Katie and Denise? Mm-hmm. I'm getting probably 5 calls a week from people who either A, never voted before, who are voting for Trump, B, voted for President Obama, who are now voting for Trump, C, didn't vote in 2012, voted for Obama in 2008, who are now voting for Trump, union guys who have never normally voted in for Republicans voting for Trump. So it's very interesting to see a lot of people who were non-traditional Republican voters who are now voting for Trump. That's interesting.
No, I think you're right. I think it's very interesting. And what will be most interesting is, do all those people turn out on Election Day, and do all the people that, make up Hillary Clinton's base turn out on Election Day? And that's why I think, the polls are the polls and the numbers are the numbers, but turnout is what matters most. I mean, let's think back to 4 years ago. Mitt Romney's people, they thought they were going to win. And had everybody turned out who they thought was going to turn out, he probably would have, but they didn't. And I think that's the difference this year with the Trump folks, is that his base of people that are his supporters, and as you point out, many of them either former Democrats or just new to the process, I think they are going to turn out. And I think it's going to make it much closer than what you see in the numbers right now. But turnout, I think, is going to be the biggest factor.
Well, and Trump, if you compare him to Romney in 2012, isn't doing as well with traditional Republican voters. For instance, I think Trump, What is he at, 74, 75%, and Romney was higher. But you wonder whether or not he really needs to be higher, considering all of the other people who are voting. I don't know. I'm not trying to discount people with real issues with Donald Trump. What I'm saying is, I'm wondering whether there are some people who are going to be able to fill those vacant seats.
Well, I think, yeah, and I think, I think he does need more of the traditional Republicans to turn out, because again, if everybody who is supposed to vote for Hillary shows up, she's going to have a lot of people at the polls.
Right.
I don't know that they're all going to show, because I think there are a lot of people who, maybe traditional Democrats, maybe like, where she is on the issues, but they just don't like her. If it's a rainy day, they may not take the time to go. So, that, but if they do show up, I do think he needs Republicans to turn out too.
Yes, I absolutely. Now, curiously enough, as we break down some of the down ballot races, I'm noticing, and I'll use an example with Pat Toomey. He's basically, if you look at the polls, 0.4 percentage points ahead of the Democrat in Pennsylvania. The one thing about Toomey is he has been waffling about Trump. He won't even say if he'll vote for him. I think that's hurting him in Pennsylvania. Do you?
I think so. Look, I think when you waffle, period, it hurts you. Because that's been one of Trump's appeals, is that he doesn't waffle. You may not like his answer, but he gives you an answer. Anytime these candidates kind of start going back and forth and dancing around, well, I was for him, but now I'm not so sure, I don't want to say anything. You look at what's happened with Paul Ryan. I think that hurts people. So, yeah, again, and Pennsylvania is going to be one of those states that we don't know how it's going to go until probably the day of. So that's going to be one to watch, no doubt. And look, Republicans need to hold the Senate. There's no doubt about that.
Well, and Toomey has been openly critical of Donald Trump, and I think that's hurt him too. And curiously enough, what we're seeing, it seems, and locally here too, is, because I'll give you an example. I was out at the St. Charles GOP headquarters, St. Charles County, Saturday, where it was one of these sign giveaways. And so they had all the candidates there, and people were choosing signs of the down ballot candidates based on whether they could confirm they supported Donald Trump. And to me, it's interesting how we spent months listening to these people talk about how Trump was going to damage down ballots because everybody hates him, when the reality is the guys that are in the closest races who are most in jeopardy with their seats are people who have been lukewarm in their support of Donald Trump.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, Trump motivated a lot of people, and his supporters are very motivated. And I think you're right. I think the fact that somebody else down ballot, whether it's a Senate race, whether it's a House race, whatever, is not supporting the top of the ticket, I think that really ticks them off. Because most people, there will certainly be a few who go out and say, I'm just voting for the Senate race, but that is definitely the minority of folks. Most people vote for the top of the ticket first and then on down. And I think you're right. The people going out to vote, they're motivated. And, I think that the leadership in Washington, whether they're in the Senate, they're in the House, hopefully they've tuned in now that they've all been back in their districts and their states for the last couple of weeks. I don't think they've realized how fed up the rest of the country is and how many people who they may have thought, oh, these folks will never be supportive of Trump, not only are they voting for him, they want to vote for him. And they're ticked off that their representatives aren't supporting him as well.
Yeah, interesting. I know we're running out of time here, but how about these O'Keefe tapes, the latest one about massive voter fraud? I realize Trump has gotten criticized for talking about rigged elections, but boy, the more we see evidence of certain things going on, including this massive voter fraud that was admitted on tape, the less I am likely to say he's crying wolf.
No, look, I'm so glad you brought that up. I would encourage anybody listening to the show, go to thedailysignal.com, for which I write. I did not write this story, but a guy named Jason Sneed, who works for the Heritage Foundation, wrote an article we posted yesterday about voter fraud cases. Heritage has a database where we're keeping track of these. We have a booklet there people can download called Does Your Vote Count? And it's got example after example in state after state. And, has it changed the outcome of a presidential election yet? Probably not, but it has definitely changed the outcome of congressional races, sheriff races. I mean, voter fraud is real. And so, when people in the New York Times are like, oh, this doesn't really matter, it does matter. We have almost 2 million